This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, plus special features and reports with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
Hello again. Welcome to the broadcast. Just in case you forgot, folks, winter is not over yet. Not even close. Snow squalls this morning being replaced by much colder air this afternoon. Temperatures will hang out in the teens today, but with those wind chills, going to feel more like the single digits. We've got warmer air arriving tonight and more snow for tomorrow, 2 to 4 inches for most. Kev's got your forecast on the way. Pentagon policy, that is our top story today. President Trump has signed a slew of new executive orders impacting our military. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth.
Our job is lethality and readiness and warfighting. We're going to hold people accountable.
He's ordered an end to DEI practices in the armed forces and a review of transgender soldiers. CBS's Olivia Rinaldi.
It's not a blanket ban like we saw during the first administration, but what this one does is reevaluate readiness, armed forces readiness, and whether or not transgender persons in the military serving impacts that readiness.
The commander-in-chief has also instructed the Pentagon to develop an Iron Dome missile defense system, much like what Israel has today. The Trump administration's crackdown on illegal immigration is well underway.
Federal officers on the move in major cities. The number of daily arrests rising. A senior administration official telling NBC News ICE arrested nearly 1,200 undocumented immigrants in one day. Roughly half had criminal records, in addition to being in the country illegally.
Correspondent Gabe Gutierrez. Congressional Republicans are launching a probe into sanctuary cities that refuse to play ball with immigration enforcement efforts.
The House Oversight Committee sent 4 letters to the mayors of Chicago, New York City, Denver, and Boston. The committee states while there are hundreds of cities and counties with sanctuary laws or policies across the U.S., these 4 cities stand out because of their, quote, abject failure to comply with federal law.
Madeline Rivera at Fox News. The Trump administration has ordered a pause on nearly all federal grants and loans. This action could potentially put $1 trillion in spending on hold. The freeze on federal aid starts at 5 p.m. today. NBC's Peter Alexander reads a statement from the White House Budget Office.
The pause extends to, quote, all federal financial assistance and activities affected by President Trump's recent executive orders, including foreign aid, non-governmental organizations, DEI, woke gender ideology, and the Green New Deal.
Social Security and Medicare not affected by the spending freeze. White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt expected to get peppered with questions about this from the Washington press corps when she holds her first press briefing at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Microsoft is in talks to buy TikTok. President Trump says he wants a bidding war to save TikTok from the chopping block.
Have a lot of people bidding on it, and if we can save all that voice and all the jobs, and China won't be involved.
The president signed an executive order shortly after taking office to keep TikTok from going dark. It's used every day by about 170 million Americans. Mystery drone sightings are returning in the Northeast after the FAA lifted its 30-day flight ban.
From New Jersey to Connecticut, plus New York, Vermont, and Massachusetts, those unexplained drone sightings are back. So are the videos.
If you look at the reports that people are submitting, they're saying, I'm still seeing them.
Christina Kim of Enigma Labs on NBC's Today Show. New York Senator Chuck Schumer confirmed the sightings on Sunday.
We have now seen new drone sightings, and we're going to have to look into these.
There have been hundreds of mysterious drone sightings since January 19th, when the FAA lifted its 1-month ban on drone flights over New York and New
New Jersey. I'm Sarah Lee Kessler.
Google Maps says it will follow the government's lead and list the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America once the Trump administration updates the Geographic Names Information System. As per the president's wishes, it will also identify the mountain in Alaska, currently called Denali, as Mount McKinley, which it was before President Obama changed it to Denali back in 2015. Still to come on the Noon Report, sewage sludge in Steuben County, counting elk in Pennsylvania, and AI in the classroom.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams. A changeable weather pattern. Temperatures tumbling today but will rise tonight as snow returns. Forecast details are up in 10.
All right, Kevin, thank you for that. Let's check the stories making news where you live next. All across New York and Pennsylvania, a shortage of rock salt is impacting snowplow operations in a number of New York towns and villages. Supply problems at American Rock Salt in Livingston County is the reason why. Erie County Public Works Commissioner Bill Geary.
We're in the thick of winter right now. We still have quite a bit of winter to go ahead. It's problematic if we don't have a de-icing agent for our roads.
Several communities are assisting each other through this rock salt shortage. The State Thruway Authority says it has plenty of salt to get through winter. There's growing concern in Pennsylvania that Penn State University may be thinking of closing some of its satellite campuses. The 19 satellite branches employ more than 5,000 faculty. Enrollment at those campuses, however, has dropped by almost 25% the past decade. New York Governor Kathy Hochul is encouraging more residents to earn degrees in high-demand fields. She's launched a $28 million initiative that provides free tuition to SUNY students who are between the ages of 25 and 55. SUNY Chancellor John King.
Think about a company like Micron coming to Central New York. They're going to need a lot of people to work at the chip fab and the supply chain companies. This investment is going to help us prepare that workforce.
King says the free tuition will help fill much needed jobs in schools and at hospitals too.
Think about someone who's maybe working in the gig economy. They're barely able to make ends meet, and then they get into a nursing program and they come out and they end up not only with a family sustaining wage, but really a career.
The free tuition is for SUNY students pursuing degrees in such high demand fields as nursing, teaching, and technology. As many as 180,000 teaching jobs will be needed in New York by the start of the next decade. Private schools say this free tuition idea is not fair to them. A cyber charter school that uses artificial intelligence to teach kids has just applied to operate in Pennsylvania. It's called Unbound Academy, and it features an AI tutor that enables kids to spend just a couple hours a day in the classroom. Unbound Academy says its goal is to motivate students with the gift of time. Students would also receive 3 hours a day of what Unbound calls life skills workshops, including public speaking and financial literacy. A growing number of New York State lawmakers are demanding the Marcy Correctional Facility in Oneida County be shut down in the aftermath of an inmate death. 43-year-old Robert Brooks was beaten to death last month by more than a dozen guards. That attack was captured on camera.
We also know from that video recording how important transparency is in order to bring about accountability and lasting reform.
Jennifer Scafee is executive director of the Correctional Association of New York. 16 guards at the prison remain suspended without pay. No criminal charges have been filed yet. Rochester, New York Mayor Malik Evans confirms that federal immigration officials have been conducting ICE raids in the Flower City in recent days.
There is obviously a lot of angst in the community. One of the things that I have been telling our community partners is to make sure that those that work with people who might be refugees is to ensure that they know their rights.
The mayor says Rochester has a rich history of migrant labor.
Rochester's been a refugee resettlement community for years. And these are individuals who do their jobs, they do the right thing and they come here to settle. So I'm very concerned about refugee resettlement.
President Trump's been cracking down on illegal immigration since returning to office last week. His border czar, Tom Homan.
There's consequences of entering the country illegally. If we don't show there's consequences, you're never going to fix the border problem.
Joe Borelli, minority leader of the New York City Common Council, says illegal immigration cost his city $6.5 billion last year.
I want to say thank you to President Trump. Thank you to Tom Homan, because as a taxpayer in this city, I don't know how long we can possibly sustain this wave of illegal people living on our dime.
Tomorrow, President Trump signs the first law of his administration. It's called the Laken-Riley Act, and it mandates the arrest of illegal immigrants with criminal records. It was named after a nursing student who was killed by a man in the country illegally. Pennsylvania has just confirmed its first case of bird flu this year. It was detected on a Lehigh County farm containing some 50,000 chickens. State officials have quarantined that farm and restricted poultry movement to prevent the virus from spreading. This is the first bird flu case in PA since February of 2024. For decades, agriculture experts promoted sewage sludge on farm fields as a way to grow better crops. Now that practice is coming under increased scrutiny. Concern is mounting that sewage sludge could be causing harmful chemicals to seep into the soil and water. These Steuben County residents tell Spectrum News they cannot drink their water because of sewage sludge.
We don't use this water for drinking.
All my neighbors have bad wells.
Turned on my faucet and brown stuff starts coming out of my faucet that smells just like what's on the land.
69-year-old retired veteran Skip Smith says sewage sludge has poisoned his water in Thurston, New York.
I don't even use it for my coffee. Real disappointing.
The Vermont-based garbage company Casella Waste has been dumping sewage sludge from Long Island onto farm fields in Steuben County, and local residents say that's just not right.
Leave it down there someplace, Why bring it to Steuben County?
If it's not safe for New York City watershed, why is it safe to bring it out here?
Those residents have been complaining to state officials for years, demanding that Casella Waste stop spreading sewage sludge from downstate New York onto farm fields in Steuben County. Pennsylvania's annual elk count is underway. Here's Family Life's Brian Query.
For the next few weeks, the Pennsylvania Game Commission will be trying to get a count of the state's elk population from the sky using a fixed-winged plane equipped with thermal imaging cameras. Officials say the plane flies low and traverses back and forth across the entire range over the course of a few weeks, so sky gazers may notice the airplane circling or traversing back and forth. The survey takes place each year in the winter, so surveying biologists can see through the tree canopy and in the evenings. The plane is equipped with infrared technology, which sees heat, making elk shine like beacons and easier to see and count. Brian Query, Family Life News.
All right, Brian, thank you very much. Sports next. It's called the 2-Minute Drill on the Family Life Noon Report.
Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. Bob, the candles were extinguished last night at Madison Square Garden. It was a blowout by the Knicks as they dominated the Grizzlies 143-106. Mikal Bridges had 28 points, Karl Anthony Towns 24, Jalen Brunson 20, and 4 other players were in double figures. New York scored 84 points in the second half alone on their way to their 4th straight victory. It's also their 2nd straight game to score over 140 points. The Nets did not fare as well as they dropped a 110-96 decision to Sacramento. Brooklyn is slumping badly, dropping their 7th game in a row. On the ice, the Flyers got goals 28 seconds apart in the first period from Bobby Brink and Joel Farabee, and they doubled up the Devils 4-2. Garnett Hathaway and Scott Lawton also found the back of the net for Philly. The Penguins lost their 3rd straight game, a 2-1 decision to the Sharks. Sidney Crosby netted the team's lone goal 24 seconds into the 3rd period. Detroit, Vancouver, and Edmonton, your other winners. And there was quite the finish and thriller in Tucson, Arizona last night. Caleb Love hit a shot at the buzzer from beyond half court to tie the game and send it into overtime against number 2 ranked Iowa State. Then he made 2 more threes in the OT to lift unranked Arizona to the upset of the Cyclones, 86-75. March Madness gonna be here before you know it. That is a look at sports.
Oh, I can't wait for some postseason college basketball action. Thank you very much, Randy. And still to come on the Noon Report, an Iron Dome for the United States, the Hope Center of Genesee County, and fun is back in Happy Valley.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. If God exists, but he wanted us to perpetually be in the dark, he could have remained silent. Or if God wanted to only reveal his will and his moral expectations for us, but not himself, he could have. That's what makes the idea of Christian revelation so remarkable. Not only that God exists, but that he wanted us to know. And he wanted us to know not only what he expected of us, he wanted us to know himself. I asked Dr. Thaddeus Williams, professor at Biola University and author of the book Revering God, to describe the significance of God speaking within a truly Christian worldview. Here's Dr. Williams.
What do you think is the most repeated phrase in the entire Bible? It's "Thus says the Lord," which clocks in at over 400 occurrences. The God of the Bible is not the stone-cold silent God of the ancient Greeks, too busy enjoying the amenities of divine bliss to bother with humanity. No, the God who exists is a God who speaks. It's all too easy to take God speaking for granted. In fact, this is something we can learn from one of the most famous atheists of the 20th century, the French existentialist Albert Camus. Camus reckoned honestly with the implications for humanity if no speaking God exists. When it comes to man's most basic questions of meaning and purpose, Camus said, the universe is silent. We can admire Camus' honesty when he says, all human attempts to answer the questions of meaning are futile, our very existence is absurd. But something astounding happened to Albert Camus. In the 1950s, a New York Methodist pastor named Howard Mumma was guest preaching at a church in Paris. Mumma noticed a mysterious figure in a dark trench coat circled by admirers. It was none other than Camus. International atheist celebrity, Camus approached Mumma and confessed that he had never read the Bible himself, so they agreed to meet and tour the text together. What followed was a friendship that lasted 5 years, Mumma visiting Paris, Camus visiting New York City to explore the possibility that God has spoken. Then came a moment no one saw coming. Camus asked Mumma if he could be baptized. Camus died a couple weeks later in a car crash. His final words to Mumma were, "Pray for me, brother, that I keep the faith." So evidently, the man who wrestled with the silence of the universe with such bleak honesty came to the conclusion that the God who made the universe is not silent. So dear friends, do not take those 4 words, "Thus says the Lord," cheaply. Camus was right that human attempts to answer the meaning questions are futile, but God exists and God speaks.
That was author and professor Thaddeus Williams. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet with Breakpoint. For more resources that live like a Christian today, go to breakpoint.org.
Thank you, John. Outside we go next. Kevin Williams.
Here is your family life weather forecast for this afternoon. Much colder than yesterday. Clouds and sun with snow flurries, but much less wind. Temperatures this afternoon mostly in the teens to around 20. Tonight and tomorrow, rising temperatures and periods of snow. A few inches will accumulate in western and central New York and northwest Pennsylvania and interless central and eastern Pennsylvania. Temperatures tonight rising toward 30 into the 30s tomorrow. Some flurries followed by some sun Thursday. High temperatures in the 30s.
All right, Kevin, great work at the Weather Center. This is the Noon Report. I'm your host, Bob Price. Lots going on Tuesday, January 28th. President Trump has put a pause on federal loans and grants. This freeze kicks in at 5 p.m. today and could impact $1 trillion in spending. White House correspondent Nancy Cordes.
It appears that we're talking about everything from aid to nonprofit organizations to funding for universities. This could could even affect loans to small businesses and grants to state and local governments. Now, in this memo, the Office of Management and Budget at the White House orders all federal agencies to assess all of their programs and activities to ensure that they comply with President Trump's recent executive orders. And in the meantime, it says all federal assistance must be temporarily frozen. Chuck Schumer, the Senate's top Democrat, put out a statement overnight saying, quote, Congress approved these investments and they are not optional. They are the law.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt expected to get peppered with questions about this federal freeze at her first White House press briefing today. That briefing starts at 1 p.m. Last night, President Trump signed a series of new executive orders impacting our military. They include an end to DEI policy at the Pentagon and a review of transgender soldiers.
To ensure that we have the most lethal fighting force in the world, we will get transgender ideology out of our military. It's going to be gone.
The new executive order argues transgender people cannot satisfy the rigorous standards necessary for military service.
CBS's Ed O'Keefe at the Pentagon. There are today about 8,000 active duty soldiers who identify as transgender. The commander-in-chief has also signed an executive order to build a version of Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system right here in the United States. It would be used to protect America from foreign threats. Former Army intelligence captain Jeremy Hunt.
Look, the threat is very high. A lot of the intel agencies for the last 4 years under Joe Biden have been sounding the alarm that we are at a significant threat level right now in the United States.
Hunt says the Chinese spy balloon incident early in 2023 proves to him that an Iron Dome defense system is needed. From January 28th to February 4th of 2023, that high-altitude balloon from communist China flew across the entire continental United States before it was eventually shot down. The first lawsuit's been filed by a religious group in connection to recent ICE raids on illegal immigrants. A group of Quakers from Maryland suing the Department of Homeland Security over arrests made at sensitive locations such as churches. The Quakers argue the law enforcement effort deters congregants from attending services and obstructs the guarantee of religious liberty. The Trump administration says churches, schools, and hospitals are not off limits when it comes to apprehending dangerous illegals and sending them back to the country they came from. A high-ranking Republican on Capitol Hill demanding answers from the mayors of sanctuary cities, which protect illegals from the long arm of the law.
The chairman of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee wants an investigation into the policies of the sanctuary jurisdictions and their impact on public safety and federal immigration enforcement. James Comer also wants the mayors of those cities to testify at a hearing next month. He calls their efforts misguided and obstructionist and said they hinder the ability of federal law enforcement officers to remove dangerous criminals from American communities.
Tammy McCormick on Capitol Hill. Tech stocks suffered $1 trillion in financial losses yesterday on word of a new Chinese-owned artificial intelligence company. It's called DeepSeek. Here's tech analyst J.D. Durkin.
DeepSeek is cheaper and it's a more powerful challenger. And the biggest part of all this, it comes from our chief rival in the geopolitical arena, that of course being China. Investors see this as a threat because NVIDIA and Microsoft, they're spending tens of billions of dollars on artificial intelligence and the data centers necessary to power it.
President Trump says the emergence of DeepSeek should serve as a wake-up call for the U.S. tech industry. To stop the spread of bird flu, more than 145 million chickens have been killed in this country the past 3 years, and that's contributed to a sharp rise in egg prices. Laura Burnell runs a diner near Anaheim, California.
Our eggs went from $19 a case to $160 right now. $160 a case.
The USDA predicts the cost of eggs will go up by about 20% this year. An update is coming to Google Maps to reflect new names being given to geographic landmarks. Here's correspondent Rory O'Neill.
The Gulf of Mexico will be changed to Gulf of America, and Alaska's Denali will be renamed Mount McKinley. The name changes were announced by President Trump during his inaugural address. In posts on X, Google says it will follow the government's lead by changing the names on its Maps app. Also on X, Google said they have a long-standing practice of applying name changes when they've been updated in official government sources. I'm Rory O'Neill.
Thank you, Rory. This is the Noon Report, a Tuesday edition on Family Life.
Welcome back to another edition of Hometown Heroes on Family Life. I'm Mark Webster, and this week's guest is Diane Saya, director of the Hope Center of Leroy, New York, a Western New York ministry offering a variety of services to the people of Genesee County. Tell me how the Hope Center came to be.
The Hope Center opened its doors in 2017, actually, which was 8 years ago. We're a small nonprofit located in the village of Leroy, New York, which is about 20 minutes from Batavia. We provide a variety of programs to meet the needs of our community and beyond. Our outreach ministries began in the heart of a local church, and as the needs of the community grew, it was decided that the Hope Center would branch off and become a separate nonprofit.
So it branched off and started to grow, and what are some of the outreaches that you have for the ministry?
We have several that we're doing right now. Our free tutoring program, Fresh Start Tutoring, is for children in grades K through 6 and beyond, and this year we're offering high school tutoring. We want to be a place where anyone with an educational need can find help. And we do have one adult learner. We also have a free Alzheimer's respite program, Senior Moments Lunch Club, held monthly, and it gives caregivers an opportunity to borrow back a little bit of their lives while we pamper their loved ones. We also have a ladies group, Crafty Women and Friends, and we meet to do crafts, have fun, fellowship, and all women in the community and beyond are welcome to join us. Another program that we collaborate on with 3 area churches is the Good News Club, and this is provided monthly for the elementary students in our local school. Lastly, we also conduct a Grief Share support group, which is a faith-based program for those who are grieving the loss of a loved one.
It's a little bit of a diverse set of things that you offer. How does it all kind of tie together?
Well, we want to meet in the middle of what the community needs and what we can do well. We are staffed by 5 women. We all work part-time, and we have a valuable asset in our team of volunteers. So if there's a need presented to us, we get together and decide if we can go in that direction. I mean, we don't want to spread ourselves too thin, which can happen, but sometimes you need to go outside the box to see if you can address a pressing need in the community.
And since you've been at the helm there, what have you seen as some of the most pressing needs there?
Well, what we keep hearing over and over from some of the parents is that they feel there's a need for something for the kids to do in the summer. So a future vision that we have is to create some sort of a kids club or something that they can do in the summer that teaches them life skills and sets them up for success. This would fit very well with what we're doing for kids in the tutoring and Good News Club. So that's a goal of ours. We're funded by grants and donations, and we also have fundraisers.
Your very name, Hope Center, really speaks to the lack of hope, whether it's for youth or adults. It's probably never been worse than it is right now, it seems.
I would have to agree with you, and I don't know that we can blame it on COVID like some people do, but it's hard to get people to call you back or answer your emails or deliver on what they say they're going to do. And at the Hope Center, even when the children come for tutoring, we want to make their parents feel welcome. We have coffee and tea set up, snacks for the kids. We even have a puzzle table in the corner of the waiting area for parents to just unwind. And we're always there to listen, to ask how their day went, and we actually wait for the answer. So we find that we can change the world one life at a time, and we like to do small things with great love, as Mother Teresa said.
When it all boils down, even though those programs are diverse, there's the common thread there, bringing hope, eventually comes back to Christ.
Absolutely. Our staff and our board of directors are people of faith. That being said, we offer help to anyone that's in need of our services. They're welcome to participate in our programs. You have to let what's in your heart flow out through your hands, and that's priority for us at the Hope Center. We want to give people hope that tomorrow can be a better day. We're here to help. Our website, it's hopecenterofleroy.org. We love to give tours, and we're also available to speak to any church groups or community organizations to share our vision.
That's Diane Saya, director of the Hope Center of Leroy, New York, a Western New York ministry offering a variety of services to the people of Genesee County. Please join us again next time as we search for your home, your town, your hero. It's Hometown Heroes on Family Life.
Love that feature. Thank you, Mark. Hometown Heroes comes your way Tuesdays during the Noon Report. Now, you can subscribe, listen to, and share this feature along with all our original podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or FamilyLife.org.
Well, good afternoon to all. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. We have a changeable, complicated, and fast-moving weather pattern. The cold front that came through last night with a burst of snow and wind is now gone. Much colder air has returned, but milder air will start moving in tonight and tomorrow with rising temperatures, but the same process will generate snow. A few inches of accumulation expected then. For this afternoon, much colder than yesterday. We'll have intervals of clouds and sun with snow flurries, but much less wind. Temperatures this afternoon ranging widely, but mostly in the teens to around 20. Tonight and tomorrow, rising temperatures and periods of snow. A few inches will accumulate in western and central New York and northwest Pennsylvania and inch or less central and eastern Pennsylvania. Temperatures tonight rising toward 30 into the 30s tomorrow. Some flurries followed by some sun Thursday. High temperatures in the 30s.
Thank you, Kevin. Finally, today, Penn State starting to ramp up for its massive annual charity fundraising event known as Thon. The 52nd annual Thon Dance Marathon will feature thousands of students and alumni dancing for 46 consecutive hours to raise money for cancer research. Senior Clara Barker danced the night away last year, and she'll be back for more next month.
It was really exciting. It was a life-changing moment for me. There's lots of energy. There's so many students there, all united for one cause.
Thon takes place February 21st at the Bryce Jordan Center and includes smaller versions on PSU's satellite campuses. It is the largest student-led philanthropic endeavor anywhere in America, and since its inception in the 1970s, Thon has raised $250 million for pediatric cancer research. So keep on dancing, Penn State. And that's our world, the world we live in, Tuesday, January 28th. I'm Bob Price, Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.